long ways to go. But I'm excited about this session, very excited about what we just experienced this morning. Eager to participate and answer questions.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that inspiration very much so. Let me just toss out a couple of questions for the panelists, and then we'll, in a few minutes, we'll open it up to more of a dialogue with the audience. And I'll direct this to anybody who wants to take the question. Maybe a couple want to take it on. What kind of takeaways can we grab from those that came before us? And Bill, you talked about your mother. What are some of the things that we can learn from those pioneers that struggled with this question way before us and possibly, made a mark and then ultimately left a legacy? What can we take from them? What can we learn from them? Or Andrew?
I'll try it. I think one of the things that I've learned, just speaking of your mom and your parents, my mom went to school through the 5th grade, and my dad was lucky enough to have a high school education. And they picked, vegetables in the field, et cetera, et cetera. But I think I was raised in a large family as well, 10 kids. I was second to the youngest, and first to graduate from college. The thing, the skills, the passion, the perseverance that my parents had, the struggles that they encountered growing up when they did, was very challenging for them. And to have a large family and to try to raise the kids and provide for their children, I think was a huge struggle. And I think about it, and my mom would tell me little things like, growing up, I didn't have any doll. I never had a doll. Didn't have that. Or I used to sweep the floors when they were dirt. And so I think about what they went through, the perseverance that they possessed, and the just learning about that. And I think about some of the geez, Bill, hear about where you grew up and all that. And I feel very fortunate that my dad worked his tail off. And he was always about hard work hard, good, better, best, just always do better, always do better. And even though I was raised in a nice neighborhood, a decent neighborhood, middle class, working class, but I did always feel like I was a little behind. Always had to work harder, but I always had that perseverance. I was going to get through it no matter what, and that's what I take away from it.
If I can just piggyback on that, I think your word perseverance really captures what I felt that my ancestors, if you will, have passed on as a legacy for me. My great-grandmother was one of, if I look back at all my grandparents, was the one that immigrated here as an adult. And she came during the last revolution in Mexico and walked here. Now, so we're talking 1910. She walked here with 2 kids. So you think, well, it took her 3 years. And there was a lot of struggles, if you can imagine. You hear and see documentaries now that are available to view about the immigration process and how difficult the struggle is to get here to the States. But I look at that and I think, it's fitting, and I'm not making this up. Her name was Petra, which means rock, which means foundation. And it's so appropriate that she was the one that came here. If I was writing a book, which I'm not an author, I'm just apparently a good storyteller, but as part of my legacy. But her name was Petra, and she was the rock and foundation of our family. And when she got to Kansas City, it was by riding rail cars or by walking, or at night they had to hide against one faction of the battle over the other faction. And just that whole struggle of keeping true to yourself. And I think faith was another piece that they instilled in us. I too grew up with a Catholic education, and the idea, the concept of working very hard and very diligently. My mom never worked outside of the home, but she was the CEO of the family, and she had the responsibility the right things and being responsive to the community. And so if there was ever a March of Dimes or any kind of cause that was out there, and it's funny to think about a middle-class mom in dresses and heels, going around and collecting funds for March of Dimes, or going around and having petitions signed for people to run for a political office or to combat an issue that was coming up. I always say that it's my mom, it's one that really got me encouraged to be involved with community stuff, because she had me on a picket line protesting, on behalf of the unions, because my father was a railroad worker at the age of 4. And it was great. If I go back and look at the picture clippings that she has out of the newspaper, they were all in their dresses, which, this was the 60s. They had dresses, pearls, and hats on, and they were picketing. Now that's kind of a weird picture if you think about what protest looks like these days. But, that concept about persevering, about being responsive, about being passionate, and making sure that whatever you do it the best. You do it with the total gusto, not just half-assed. And you are making sure that whatever you say, it may not necessarily be the best words that you've ever come out of your mouth, but that people know that you're true to yourself, and that you're saying it with total commitment to the idea and the concept.
Versus piling on, I'm going to go at this and bring another trait that I think that is so important. And it's natural for us, but sometimes it's unnational for different ethnicities in the United States. But, the hard work, the opportunity. But one thing that they brought is social. If you ever go by the park on Sunday, you smell the carnitas and drinking beer and having a great time. And what we forget is just how important that is in your everyday jobs and the things that you do. Because I'll never forget what my father told me. I'm politically correct, I'll change a little bit. But what he said, Eduardo, you're in this country. You shake a man's hand. Now it's you shake a man or a woman's hand. You look him in the eye and you smile. Okay? And you get anything you want in this country. And oh, by the way, do what you tell them you're going to do. And if you think about it, we are really a fun-loving community. And that piece, I've used that piece so much, because if you think about the closest point between two people is laughter. And if you ever watch good speakers speak, they'll always have a little humor in there. So just remember that what they brought to us, they could have been complaining all the way to the bank, because a lot of them did get wealthy, okay? But they came here, they were fun-loving, great spirits, and those are things that we need to tap into too. Because I don't know too many Latinos in the workplace that are successful that people don't like hanging around. All right, so remember that the social skills that they brought us, the social skills that we have as a community are very important, whether it's corporate America, because it attracts people into you. And that's just another take that I took and just listened and said.
I want to touch on that social piece. I visited some coffee farms in Costa Rica a few years ago, and there was the general manager of the mill had said, let's go to lunch. And usually when you're thinking of getting invited to a business lunch, it's at a nice restaurant, nice food. It ended up being at his home with his kids and his wife cooking. And I think that really